I'm nervous all of a sudden. All right, cool.
Don't be nervous. No, I should be nervous. Don't be
Yeah, yeah,
nervous.
yeah. But anyways, we're here with what do you go by? Miss Wondrous Soul, right? Why do you pick that name? Why? Like, why do you do that?
Okay, so the way that I explain it is like when I
Yeah,
first wanted to look for a name, there was a
yeah.
book I was reading back in university because I did my undergrad was in English, and there was a
Okay,
book
fine.
like I read it twice, and it was called The Wanderer's Brief World of Oscar, and it was about this kid, and I was like, oh, I really love the word like wanderers, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was looking and we were like talking about it in class, and it just means weird but beautiful at the same time.
yeah, yeah,
That just can't be described. I'm like, oh, that kind of describes how I am in general.
yeah,
Like I feel like you can't be boxed in, and he was a person that he couldn't be boxed in, like
yeah,
in a
yeah,
way society. So I feel like I'm the same way. I feel like I kind of break, like nobody can be like, oh, you're only this thing, like in a cage.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
You don't like doing that. Like, I'm not
yeah,
gonna
and I'm like,
stick my label. Don't you
exactly. Like
dare tell me that I'm gonna stay right here. No, no, no.
yeah. So when I saw that, when I like was reading about them, like, okay, that's so cool. And I'm like, okay, Wanderer's Soul. And when I was starting my platform, I was like, I
Yeah,
don't really want people to know what I'm doing like at work. So I was like, I didn't want to
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah,
to Mr. Sand, but and then like when I started
yeah.
it, students were finding people found my account. Then that's the reason now it's connected to Miss Wanderer's Soul and Mr. Sand at the same time. So I kind of go by both.
What? So did you have like two accounts before? Like,
I do have a private account,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like when I first started this account, I didn't because when I first started, like when you're in teaching, they like
yeah,
literally tell you in teachers college or university, like, oh, stay away from social media. Social media
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
no.
But
So
you didn't
so
see any teachers like 5 years ago. You can only see them now, and I don't know any other teachers really who are like popping on Instagram like that.
yeah, so there's actually like a lot, right? Like after like finding and
Yeah,
starting my journey, I've connected with so many, but like I guess I didn't want my students or my colleagues or the
yeah, yeah,
admin
yeah.
to
Or the
find out
board. Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
yeah, but then again, down the line, it started to like they started to find out. But then it was like a cool embrace. Like they embraced it and they loved it. And
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah, because I guess you don't try and do too much like over the line or like contradictory to
No, because I know when I first was making my
you as a
account,
teacher is not that different to you as a person, right? I guess.
exactly. And also like when I was creating the account, I created my account, my TikTok account. That was the first thing that I created, and it was because
Yeah,
of my
yeah,
students. They're the ones who are like, Miss, like you should create an account. So I knew if I was going to create an account where my students will have access to it, then I
yeah,
kind of still have to upload, like still be the same person I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
am professionally, how they know me outside. And again, it's not too far-fetched because I still do share my life, but it's kind of connects back and forth. So
yeah,
I don't do too much, but also I just share my journey. That's it.
yeah, yeah. But like you would never share like anything crazy like dating or anything like too personal to you, innit? Because like I
Well,
don't
I
go
do,
on social media. I
yeah.
wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like sometimes here and there I do share like my husband because I am married. So
Oh
like
yeah,
date
yeah,
night,
yeah, yeah.
like I make like recommendations because people always ask me, oh my God, like
Yeah,
we're
I don't
like
see your husband on there ever, really.
yeah. So it's like here and there, like a sprinkle because I don't want to show too
Are you a
much,
fan
but
of like a soft launch?
yeah, like yeah.
Is that
And
what it
also
is?
a social media person. So I didn't want to also like put him all in everyone's
That makes
business
a
for
lot of
the
sense. Yeah.
so I gotta respect that too.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, but obviously you've been doing it for how long, the teaching thing? I don't even know
I,
how you got into it in the first place. So you can tell me why you thought, okay, I'm gonna be a teacher. Because I don't know, your aesthetic, it doesn't seem like you would be a teacher, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I've been a teacher now for 3 years and a half. I
okay, okay.
started teaching in 2020, right in like in the thick of pandemic is when
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I started, and it was very different. It was
That when
very,
you like decided to be a teacher or were you already going to study to be there? Like,
I actually decided to be a teacher when I was in grade 11, because at that time
wow.
I was taking chemistry, I remember, and sciences and math were not my thing in high school. And then because my first goal, like from grade 8, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I always knew that I wanted to work with kids.
Yeah.
Um that was one thing that I knew that was gonna happen. So I was like, okay, I want to be a pediatrician. So I was going into high school thinking I want to become a children's doctor. And then
Yeah,
in grade 11, I realized, or I just probably didn't have like teachers that really like their
I'll
teaching
push you in
style
the right way.
like, at all. It was like completely different.
And we'll talk about
And I
the
was
different teaching methods later on.
yeah. Yeah, no, most definitely. So I was struggling in like grade 11 academic math. I was struggling in chemistry. So I'm like, okay, if I'm like not doing well in these courses, then and these are the courses that I need for to become a doctor, like then I kind of have to pivot. So that's when I
Yeah, yeah,
took
yeah.
a class in grade 11 and they placed me in school. So I was in a grade 1 class. So that was like my placement. And I went and it was crazy because that was the same class as my second youngest brother. He was in grade 1 at the time. So they
Oh,
put me in
wow.
his, yeah. So then I was in his class every morning, like till lunch. And
You
I
didn't give him
just,
favoritism or anything like that, innit? Like,
oh, no,
you
no,
probably
no, no.
harder on him than anyone else.
No favoritism. I
Yeah,
actually literally went home and I was like, parents, he's not doing well. Like, we need to do better. Because I remember, like, the teacher would let me mark, and
yeah,
his
yeah,
test
yeah.
was, his spelling test was horrible. I'm like, mm-mm. So then I went home, and then
And
my
you did
parents like,
English as well, so that means your scrutiny is gonna
yeah,
be on point. Like, come
exactly.
on, like, you came from me. Come on, like, yeah,
Exactly. Then my parents said like, okay, then you tutor him. And I'm the oldest of seven, so I have to plug that in because it would make sense. So
that's
and
yeah,
I was like,
that's wild in itself. That's wild in itself.
yeah. So then I would teach him. So I would tutor him like every day. And then he started to do very well. And that's the moment I was like, yo, like I
And you
like
could
this
do
feeling.
this. Yeah,
I could do this. I could do this. It doesn't even feel like a job. It feels like it just felt good doing it. And then just like reading with kids and seeing the growth
yeah,
from like week to week or day to day. I thought that was beautiful. And I'm like, okay, then this is what I want to do. So in grade 11 is when I was like, okay, that's what I want to become an educator. So that was like my solidified moment.
yeah. That's a very wholesome answer, obviously. But what do you say to people who kind of say that all of this is like a PR stunt? Because obviously you're a teacher, you kind of have to embody that a little bit on
Yeah.
social media. What do you say to the people who are like, she must have like flair hidden somewhere else or whatever?
No, like I tell them honestly, like this
You're
is
just like,
just
yo, this is me. I'm
this
just
is
chill. Like I just live this life. Like that's it.
this is me. This is me inside and outside the classroom. Like growing up, I've always been into fashion, so that wasn't far-fetched. Like finding what I like to wear or an aesthetic or what pieces or creating outfits was a thing for me. Like I would definitely say I was a creative kid growing up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did not know how to do with me because like growing up again in a Muslim household and then like music is haram or dancing is haram and being a girl and then like I love playing sports and my dad's like no like this is like focus
Yeah,
more
I
on
do
your
get that vibe from you, to be fair. Like you probably what did you play
yeah.
with growing up? Like
I love to play basketball. Like in high school, like I grew up like middle school, high school, I like played basketball the whole time. And then it was just like I really couldn't. And then I loved being in like high school. Like high school allowed me to explore like drama and dance, and I really
because of
loved
the
dance.
Muslim upbringing, right? Because I kind of got the same thing because I did drama as well. So I
Yeah, and I
found that
loved
this
it.
was my way to like express myself kind of thing. Because you
Exactly,
couldn't
like
really like in the house. Outside you could, and it was like a big difference.
a
So you're
hundred
living two
percent.
lives in it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then especially with school, like I would definitely always be the ones like organizing assemblies, like putting like dance like parts together.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I
You dance, yeah?
yeah, like
You
I
got
can
moves
make
like that. I didn't know. I
a
didn't
little
know.
bit. Still learning, but it's just cool. Like it's crazy because like I wish I could have explored that more growing up, where
Yeah,
now I feel like I'm playing catch up. I'm doing it more as a passion.
yeah.
Feel like so high school allowed me to do that. So for people who think that, it's crazy because what you see online is what you see in the classroom times
But
10.
maybe
Like my
that enrages like a certain type of person who isn't just
yeah,
chill and they're not
yeah,
embodying that and they're like kind of wilding out or like going out drinking and stuff like that. Like,
yeah. And I'm not that person. Like growing
mm,
up again, like I'm different. Like of course, as
yeah, yeah,
Muslim
yeah.
people, like you've grown up different, you have different upbringings. But for me, like everything you see online is literally me. Like even to the clothes that I wear. Like even now, this is what I
Yeah,
wore on
yeah,
my I s- I dress the way I am authentically. So I think
yeah,
people are
yeah.
not used to teachers dressing as themselves inside the
But
classroom
why
and
is
then
that? Is it because it's like a strict thing from the board kind of thing? Or do you think
I think it's just like stereotypes. I think it's the idea of society being like brainwashed or just us being to think that Eurocentric ways is the only way to be seen professional, right? Like the way that you dress, business casual, right? Like if you look at who created these were created by white people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
and then this is for us as people of color or people who are different, then we have to kind of conform to this because growing up,
The
even growing
standards,
up,
right?
I wouldn't
You
even
can
have
wear
a
your hair a certain way or have like a beard
exactly.
popping off. Like,
Yeah, so the standards were different, but now what we're realizing is that the standards are being questioned because it's like who created these standards, right? Because if you
hmm
go like it's crazy because a lot of the comments like, oh my God, like you're allowed to wear jeans in school. I'm like, yeah, like if you go into any school where I am, it may be different from different parts of the country, but I know in Canada, if you go into any school, we are teachers are wearing jeans, they're wearing joggers, they're wearing t-shirts. So what I'm wearing is not far-fetched when in where I work, because this is what we wear. It's only far-fetched because I do it with flair or I have a sense of style and I put
yeah,
effort in my like outfits where people are not used to as teachers being like putting a lot of effort into their style. I think maybe that's very different. And like
yeah.
from
And
even
but it's probably like they were kind of pushed down to even think in that way because of the fact that they had to conform to the standards, right? So that's
exactly,
kind of
yeah,
how it works.
yeah,
And
and
then you kind of
standards,
were like, yeah, who created this? I'm gonna do my own thing. Like,
yeah,
they don't like it, they can hate, kind of thing.
100%. Like I like when
Do you
I
get a lot of haters or not really? Like, I don't feel like you do, no?
no, like sometimes there will be like like if it one two comments about like, oh my God, this is not professional. And I'm like, but you guys haven't like you guys are grown people who haven't been in this in the school system, right? The school system is changing. And I feel like
Yeah,
people don't understand that. Like the our conduct, like the dress code of conduct for my board has changed recently. I think it was like 2018 or 2019 where it changed drastically, where kids are and people are allowed to wear whatever they want as long as it's not derogatory. It's like
yeah.
there's no racial slur and stuff. So people are not are don't know that though. So like and then when they see me, they're like, oh no, like what are you
Or like,
doing?
oh, when I
Sometimes
went to school, it wasn't
yeah,
like that. So when they see that now, they're like, oh, this can't be it. Like,
exactly.
why did you
Yeah.
get to dress so good? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably what they say.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. And a lot of the comments like, I wish I had a teacher like you growing up. I'm like, hey, that's the reason why I even became an educator, is like to
Yeah, because
showcase.
you thought like that before, right?
Yeah, because I always wanted to have a teacher who looked like me, who probably understood me, who was, or even a Muslim teacher, like just parts of my identity. And the fact that there wasn't, and I'm like, okay, then that there's a bigger thing going on too, where kids need to feel seen and
hmm
heard and understood on a just a level. Me just being in a room right now is enough for so many kids that look like me, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like creating that safety just by like, oh, that person understands me just by appearance, it's amazing.
And it's almost more important for the kids that you teach who don't look like you, because
100%.
then you're kind of understanding like a whole race, and you don't have to like bump into these mistakes that people make. You know what I mean? They make a lot of mistakes growing up.
100%. And
Even
that's
I've made a lot of mistakes towards even white people. You know what I mean? Like,
worse.
because
A
I've
hundred.
I've made them like stereotypes in my head. You make everyone stereotype. That's kind of how you like live life, right? Like everyone has them in their
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has biases, and when they
Yeah,
go unchecked, that's the issue. But when you are critically reflecting with your on like in your but like from your biases and you're unpacking, that's
yeah,
when like change happens. So yeah, no, and that's what I say all the time. Like I teach a lot of kids that don't look like me, my school community, and for them, like even now, like I just taught them about Ramadan. A lot of them didn't know what Ramadan was, or maybe like had a one to like, oh, you don't drink water or you don't eat,
yeah.
but then I to unpack why we celebrate Ramadan
It's
and
always that
why
thing. Is like, why do you not get to have water in it? That's what people say. I don't know why.
exactly
I don't know why
always
that's the thing.
it's always that. So when the kids, like I was explaining it and I was telling them, hey, we pray 5 times a day. And like sometimes Mrs. San is praying when you guys are knocking on her room. She can't answer because I'm praying. And then now my kids are like, oh, like when they knock on my door and they're like, oh, no, no, we'll have to wait because Mrs. San may be praying. So it's just like so cute that they're like taking my
Yeah,
experiences of like, and then they're applying it. I think that
yeah.
is
Then
the
they can
beauty.
apply it to the real world as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful.
Do you feel like I guess you feel powerful being in that situation where you can make that difference instantly
Of
for
course.
kids.
And I don't take it lightly because I'm learning too. Like
Yeah,
I've learned so much just from the conversations that we had about Ramadan. Kids were telling me they fast for Easter, like friends, something called Lent,
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Christian. So I was like, we're learning, we're making connections. Because the thing is, like, people feel like we're all so different, but we have things in common as well. We're really not that different,
Yeah,
right?
there's more things that we have in common than we have differences. Yeah,
Exactly. And I feel like when doing that with kids, it kind of shows them too, like, oh, Mrs. San is also willing to learn, right? There's no power dynamic. I learn from you, you learn from me. It's vice versa.
yeah,
So I think that's important.
yeah. That power dynamic thing is huge because I feel like back in the day, it was always like, okay, you have to bow down to anything that they say, or like they'll have to like smack a ruler on the table just to get your attention, kind of thing.
100%. Like literally looking
And like
back, I
you're in the
remember.
city, right? You're in Toronto, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like, you have to keep people in check, kind of thing,
Yeah, but like the way that I do is just like in like we've co-created like classroom expectations together. So it's like if
That's
you're
insane.
yeah, so like
Never
it's
heard
like
of. Imagine a teacher doing that kind of
yeah,
work, bro. Just
yeah,
imagine the
exactly.
audacity.
Yeah, but like now they understand that and then it's
Mm,
like like learning how to be accountable and that's what I'm teaching them and I feel like growing up a lot of the times it was like just because the teacher said so boom like you can't
yeah,
even
yeah,
say anything. And I was that student that used to shut down like I was so scared to ask teachers. I had this one teacher I think like in grade 7
yeah.
or yeah, and she just shut me down like and made me like I remember it was like a math question or something. I just wanted to ask for help and she like how do you not know it or something and me so like are you
Or she
dumb or
made you
something?
feel stupid, kind of
Feel
thing.
dumb and then after
I feel like
that
that, especially to other Asian teachers, funnily enough. So they'd look
yeah
like me, and they'd be the ones who were like putting me down, and all the other teachers kind of liked me. So it was just weird.
yeah and I'm like whoa like
I feel like
and
that was like, in her head, it was tough love, right?
yeah exactly but sometimes tough love doesn't work for everybody and it didn't work for
Yeah,
me. I remember like after that I was so scared like I could not ask a teacher for help like
yeah,
I
yeah. That
was
was it. That was the last straw.
it was last year, and
Over.
then after that, through high school, I remember I would just be quiet. I'll probably like ask my parents to give me a tutor or something, but like I was so scared to ask teachers for help because I felt like I didn't want to feel like that, like dumb again, like to feel not good enough or inadequate. Like I was like, oh, I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So so that's the reason I was like, if I ever became an educator, I don't ever want kids to feel like that. And I've been doing the best that I can and it's working that because a lot of the times because I've been teaching that for 3 years and I've been teaching math for 3 years of course and then a lot of the times like the kids the one of my favorite messages is like thank you for making math fun for me again or making me understand and taking your time with me and that is just like it's like a full circle moment like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I became that teacher that I needed and now that I can be that for all students it's like the most beautiful like feeling ever.
Yeah, because that's like your inner child coming out. You're like, okay, I'm finally able to appease you,
Yeah, it's
Now
like
you
inner
can
healing.
rest easy.
Yeah, it's healing. And I'm like, I had math anxiety. Like I stopped taking math like
Yeah, I
in
thought you
grade.
said you were bad at math and now you're teaching it. What's
I
going
know. Like, you know what I realized? It wasn't me. It's
on?
the teacher. Like as an now being an educator, I realized the system in itself
Yeah.
is horrendous. Like it's broken. There's like a
Oh, yeah,
disconnect.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So the way that we teach K to 8 is like in Toronto or in like in Ontario where I'm at, is that you take your time, right? And kids can do retests, and you kind of explain it in different ways, like either through visuals, you can do auditory, like so many techniques. But as soon as you get to high school, teachers only do it one way, and it's like the teacher at the board writing down like 1.1, and then that's
But
it.
when
And you
you're
just have to
younger, they do adapt to different teaching styles.
yeah, exactly. So from kindergarten to grade 8, is different teaching styles. Like they kind of break it down for you. But
Yeah,
in high school, when I got to high school in grade 9 and 10, like at least like I was getting by. Like I was doing pretty okay. And
yeah,
but grade 11, when they introduce all these different functions, and I'm like, what is going on? And then the teacher in itself, like I had math in the morning, and my grade 11 teacher again she don't I don't think she liked me, but
yeah,
I don't or maybe she thought maybe like, or had a bias towards maybe like Somali people at that time, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
every time somebody talked, and they had like, my school had like a bigger Somali community, she would be like, go outside. So like I would miss half the lesson because
yeah,
I would be
yeah.
out. So then I could not catch
Yeah,
up.
my
So I
my Somalian friends can talk for days though. That's a
Yeah,
fact.
100%.
They
And the
can
thing
talk
is,
for days.
yeah, we can 100% for sure. But I was like, girl, I was trying to learn. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just trying, but like, so it was just maybe a bias, but also her teaching technique wasn't for me,
yeah.
and it was a disconnect. Then she was going so fast, so she made me develop math anxiety and made me feel like, okay, like I don't think this is for me anymore. And then the chemistry, same thing. It was just the teaching techniques. It's like assignments, test, test, test. But when you're in middle school, it's not tests. You do projects. There's like you do fun stuff. Like it's like mixed. But when you get to
Yeah.
high school, it's only
Only
exams and
one
tests.
way, so they just expect you to learn this way, and if you don't, then you're kind of, yeah,
Exactly. And I feel like I'm not
gonna
a
be
good,
lost.
yeah, so I was lost. So I think then now reflecting, I'm like, oh my God, it because then I'm reteaching myself the math and I'm like, oh, like if I had known, like if I had like YouTube
Yeah,
videos like now, or if you had like Khan Academy, then maybe it would have been a different outcome for me. But so that's what I realized. It wasn't me. It's not even the content. It's the way that it was being taught. It was not for me in high school. So making that like connection, I was like, wow. And to this day, there is still a problem because kids come back and they're like, Miss, I hate math, or Miss, like, I don't know what's going on. Like my art teacher, she's
yeah.
doing this. It's crazy. And again, teachers have different styles. That's the only thing that sucks because there's not one way of teaching, and trying to adapt to it sometimes is harder when you get to the higher grades.
And would you say that's the reason why you don't want to do higher grades, or is that kind of just like a you have to do the stepping stones in order to get there? Like, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, high school for me, again, I think the way that the system works, like having like 30, like having what, like 30 times like 120 kids every day, cycling through semesters, I
Yeah,
felt that was too detached for me. I
yeah.
always want like at least with middle school, I
You can
have
actually focus on individuals as well. Yeah.
exactly. And I have the same class for the whole year rather
Mm.
than like semester and just switching up. So for me, that's the reason I was like, okay, if I want, that's the reason why I chose middle school. It's like at least I'm gonna have the same kids full year. So that means that I can really work with them. And I can do much more. It's not just testing. It's not trying to fly through a curriculum because flying through a curriculum in a semester is already crazy to me too, you know? So I get to take my time with it. So I thought that is the reason why I wanted to teach middle school. And I remember how it was like when I went to high school and the high school climate,
Yeah,
it could be toxic sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if I'm equipped
yeah,
yet
yeah,
to deal with like maybe like talking about drugs, like things that is happening in high school, like
yeah,
things
yeah.
that
Because it's gonna be there regardless, right?
are
Like
gonna be there
you're gonna
regardless.
have to encounter it.
And I was like, how would
You
I
don't want to do
navigate?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, at least in middle school, at least they're still kids, like they're
Yeah,
still
they're
listening.
innocent a little bit, right? You can like
Yeah,
teach
they're
them the
still
right
listening
things.
again.
Maybe they'll be good.
Exactly.
Hopefully, they
So
won't even have to encounter it. You know?
exactly, yeah, exactly. So far it's been really good. So that's the reason. But then now, like Ashley was talking to a high school teacher yesterday that I met, and she was like, yo, like they will love you in high school. But she's like, yo, your page is so inspiring.
That's the thing. That's what I think as well. They probably
I
would love you in high school.
I know. So now I'm just like in this dilemma. I was like, I don't know. Like I've never considered teaching high school,
They're
but
all
then I'm
just
like,
like buttoned up teachers over there. You know,
yeah, and
strict
I'm
to the
like,
rules.
I was like, maybe I should explore. So now I don't know anymore. So, but I leave it up to God. So inshallah, if that is the plan, then I'll
Yeah, yeah,
probably end up
yeah.
in high school.
I
But
like that. I like that.
yeah,
When you say the system's broken, so I have one question, and then I'll talk about the system being broken. So, what do you say to people who are like, I don't know how teachers get paid over there, but over here it's really bad.
yeah. Here is here
Compared
I've
in
been
comparison
on
to
it.
like the impact that they make.
Yeah, okay,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Then yeah, it's bad. I think regardless, teachers still
I think
don't
it's
get
getting
paid.
better though, no?
Yeah, it is getting better for sure. It's just like the time that goes into like as a teacher, especially if you're a teacher and you're a new teacher at that, the time that you put in does
Mm.
not equate to what you're getting paid. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I it just is like night and day. But the thing is, as educators, we have this duty. Like I'm like, I don't doesn't matter about contract hours. I still have to work it because then my kids are not gonna learn. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna? I'm not putting in uncontract hours. Then it's not enough hours in the day to for me to get done all the responsibilities that I have on me as a teacher. And
Yeah.
that's just yeah.
But that's just kind of how it is, right? Because people probably question you for being a teacher when you could probably do like, well, you could probably do a lot more now anyways, alongside being a teacher, which is the route that you've kind of carved for yourself, which is obviously sick. But let's
Yeah.
say you didn't and you weren't in that position and there's like another teacher like you who's kind of like trying to break the biases and everything, but they don't have a lane like you've carved, what would you say to them?
Honestly, what I literally tell each teacher is take it a day at a time, right? One thing is, a lot of the times what I hear from student teachers or people who are in the program is like they have teachers who tell them you're not going to make a difference, or like the system is broken. Why are you becoming it's
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Why are we discouraging people? At the end of the day, we still need teachers and people who, like, the thing is, when as why I became a teacher, I already knew that I'm not gonna get paid. Like, I already knew. It's like one of those jobs where you do it's like an act of service,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the
That's why
service.
you
It's
bring up the whole duty thing, right? Like
exactly it's
it's for
purpose.
me to go above and beyond my contract hours because if I don't, then there's no difference I'm making, and then I'm one of those teachers who didn't give a crap like
100,
back in the day.
100%. I was like, I already knew going into become an educator it was going to be a hard, it was going to be hard. Like it was going to be a hard journey, but it's going to be worth it. And what's
Yeah,
worth it for me is seeing the kids learn, seeing the kids feel connected, seeing kids who were not motivated coming to school because they didn't feel like they were good enough, or like they're probably on an IEP, which is an individual educational plan because they have some sort of like learning disability, or like they have ADHD but they feel like they're not good enough. So for me it's like if I can make every single student in my class, doesn't matter of what they have, feel amazing, feel great, and there is growth, then I've done my job. And I think that's the most important feeling. And as educators, if you are doing that, if you're consistently making your classroom a safe learning environment where everyone not only feels welcome, but they feel like at home, then you're doing your job. Because it's beyond academics,
yeah, yeah. And for you,
especially
it's
now.
like it's more important for you to make a difference than to get paid a lot, I guess.
Of course, yeah. So now, so a lot of people ask me like, "Oh my God, like, why are you still teaching?" I'm like, "Because like I
Yeah,
love
yeah, because that's what you probably get, but they don't understand
all
like
the time. I don't
how
understand."
you
I'm like,
do.
they
Yeah,
don't understand. Like, this is I love it. Like, for me, staying behind extra 3 hours is and marking and planning what I'm gonna do for the next day. I love it. Or if me doing extracurricular, like running the school play by myself, right? I love it. Like volunteering, having students just come talk to me about their day that I taught last
yeah,
7. It's just a great feeling. And I feel like those, like, if people think of it from that perspective of money, then they won't understand it, because
yeah.
it's
And
more
most people obviously do think like that. So yeah,
so it's more than money.
and that's why you don't care about being part of a broken system, kind of thing.
No, because as long as I'm doing my part, right? And I'm doing my part to fit, like, and my kids are feeling like they're on the road to success. That's all that matters for me, right? Because
Yeah,
everything in life is it's, at this point, I feel like everything is broken. Like our everything is in shambles. But if we're not doing something about it or not trying, then what are we doing? The problem is
yeah,
still
yeah.
gonna huh?
And there's no point. We might as well just like sleep in it. That's it. The whole day, just sleep.
Yeah. There's no point.
Um, yeah, so I guess we can introduce the whole like hip hop thing into your style because that's kind of like where it comes from, probably like the 90s style, like 50 Cent era, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the new hip hop beef that's happening right now. Top three,
Okay.
like who's your favorite pick? Like what's going on?
Oh my God.
You a
This is a
Kato
hard
fan or what's going on? Like,
Oh my God. For me, like, are you talking about the one with like Drake and
Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar, yeah.
like Lamar in Future? I actually really like all those artists. Like it's crazy. Like for me, like I've grown like of course I'm from Toronto, so we all love Drake. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. Right? And I just think Drake's awesome. Like he makes incredible music, and he's talented. And I think J. Cole is actually one of my favorite rappers too.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar are two of my actually like two of my absolute favorite rappers.
Because
So the
you
fact
you seem like the type of person who really takes in lyrics. You're like
I
at the end
do,
of the
oh
lyric, you
my
pause it. You're like, that's how I see
God,
the
I
music.
am that person. That's the reason you're lyrically gifted. I remember
Yeah,
Kendrick Lamar. I used to work like at an amusement park, like
yeah,
back in like 2011 and 12, and I would literally be listening to like Money Like Trees and like listening to just Kendrick Lamar and then back to J. Cole, and those two lyrically are just chef's kiss. So the fact that they're beefing is just like it breaks my heart because
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
my
Kind of annoys
favorite
you a little bit,
people.
right?
I'm like, I can't
But there
even choose.
always has to be like the winner, right? Like hip hop is competitive at the end of the day. So
100%. So honestly, I'm just waiting for what the rebuttal is because Kendrick has
yeah,
definitely given his
I need
us.
to hear it ASAP.
I know, so I'm
Maybe we'll
excited to
reconvene when it happens, and then I'll ask you what's
100%.
going
Then
on.
we'll bring it back up. But I'm like, wow. But you're right. Like again, it is hip hop culture is part of that, like battling, going back and forth. Like this, it's part of the culture, like especially in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s, like also
And
no
like you're
Jay-Z.
competitive too, right? Like you think you're the best Chris teacher ever, like right?
Honestly, I love people tell me, hey, like, do you
Yeah,
like yeah, and I'm like, honestly, like I'm not a person who really like big ups themselves. Like, you know what I
I
mean?
know you're not. Yeah,
I'm on my own lane. Like me, like I love seeing like other teachers. Like there's so many other teachers that I follow. I'm like, oh, what they're doing is incredible, or like, oh, that's a cool fit. Like people
yeah,
would always have because like even when they sometimes I take time to like reply back and look, I didn't know you're gonna reply back to you. I'm like, of course. Like I feel like my page is community. So,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
It is, yeah.
for us. So of course I'm gonna reply back. But yeah, no, you're right. But I can't wait. So we'll definitely pick that back up between what happens
Yeah,
between
for
those two.
sure. Like whenever you want, man. Whenever you want. This was sick, obviously. I had one final question. Yeah, so give me a song that you like that is sort of underrated from an artist that like nobody really knows, but you listen to.
Oh my God. Okay. Then I gotta go into my phone. There,
That's
I
fine.
think
That's fine. Spotify it up. That's fine.
I got you. There was like this some liked songs that I was listening to before Ramadan started because I'm
Yeah, of course,
on
of course. We don't listen to music in
on
Ramadan.
the music. I'm
That's
on the
crazy.
music
That's
cleanse.
crazy.
Yeah.
We would
Yeah.
never. We would never.
Lord. I know. Du-du-du-du-du. There's this one artist that I do listen to right now, and her name is New York LA, and the
Yeah.
song is called Pros No Cons. But she's really good. Yeah, I
New York,
definitely she
LA.
yeah, New York LA, and she spells it with N and then it's a three WYRKLA. I don't know if you guys, she's the daughter of Gilly the King. He has like
I
this
got it.
podcast. Yeah, so she's really yeah, pros and cons. She just dropped this tape, but I think she's pretty lit.
All right,
That's
man.
like
I'll check out after Ramadan, obviously,
yeah,
man.
of course.
Yeah, anything else that you wanted to speak about? I mean, we have a couple questions from the audience, right? So
Go for it.
we'll ask a couple because apparently my time is expiring for some reason. Um, we kind of did we speak about what's the hardest part about teaching?
Well, we touched about it, but I feel like the hardest
Yeah,
part again, navigating the system. One thing that I can definitely say as a new teacher that I realize is navigating people's emotions and like as a teacher, navigating how to like move and like when teachers are upset about something like new like about this that happened years ago or maybe like the change of policies and then they don't like it. So
yeah,
navigating the waters on that. Usually for me, I just mind my business and I keep
yeah. You
quiet.
like keep your head down and you're like,
I
okay,
keep
like,
my head down and I keep it moving because I was like,
yeah.
hey, like I don't really like to like dwell on things that I can't change. Like if it happened, it happens in your policy, then it's in effect. Like this is what work is. But some people they like to just
They like to
um
bicker, right?
negative.
And the thing
Yeah,
is, when
just
you're at work anyways, especially among, I guess, like teachers and people who are getting like underpaid, they're gonna
yeah,
find ways to like bicker about it. Even in the
exactly.
office, it's like that.
Yeah. So I was like, at the end of the day, I really don't
People love
like being
complaining in at their job. That's what it
oh
is.
my God, they love complaining. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm not a good person that deals with negative energy. I don't like negative energy. I feel like it's like draining and I don't like that. So I try my best to stay away from that and create my own positive like pod in my own classroom and my own environment. So that's what I tell people is like always stay away from negative energy because I feel like the more you're surrounded by negative energy, you're going to like it's gonna seep in you and it's gonna kind of change you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason I love to like be surrounded by positivity, because the more positive you are, the more like you look at life through a like life of gratitude, like through a gratitude lens, then you're gonna
Because
be
if
more
you're
happy.
not looking at life full of gratitude, then you're gonna just be a bitter person, and people are gonna see that in you. And
That
do you
part.
want to be home thinking about, oh, I left that really rubbish impression on someone? Like, never.
Exactly.
That's a
Ever. And I don't
disgusting thing.
the worst feeling, especially when I'm in front of people's kids. I don't ever want them to feel like they've done something because of the negative energy around me. So I try to keep it positive and always look for the good in everything. I think that's the key.
I mean, that's a good message to end on, obviously. Uh, do you want to say anything else to the people? Like, tell them to follow you and stuff. I guess they're already following you if they're here,
If
right? Like,
they
let's be
want
real.
to,
Let's be real.
no, you're so sweet. Hey, if they want to continue, they want to see, you already know it's Miss Wanderer's Soul, both on TikTok and Instagram. And if everyone has any questions, then always just leave a comment, let me know, and I will try to get back to everybody.
That's it. It's been Kilipodcast. We'll be back again soon. Take it easy, guys.